것 같아요. 그래서 그런 감정이 들어서 조금 감격스러웠던 것 같아요. 한 배역에만 잘 할 수 있는 명수가 아니라 어떠한 배역을 받아도 다 넣어서 소화해낼 수 있는 그런 스펙트럼이 넓은 명수가 되고 싶습니다.
여러분 반갑습니다. I'm Kwon-soa and this is K-Culture Dive. Join us in taking a deep dive into the heart of Korean culture, from K-entertainment to AI news, and a look at teacher-student or mentor-mentee relationships in Korea's film industry. And with that, let's dive in. Joining us on today's show is my co-host Walter Lee. Walter, happy Friday.
Happy Friday, Soa, and hello to everyone joining us on K-Culture Dive today. I'm Walter Lee, here to co-host alongside Soa and bring you the latest in K-entertainment stories.
Walter, earlier this week, we talked about Blackpink's Lisa doing a performance at the FIFA World Cup, actually at the opening performance.
Correct.
And it looks like she's not the only Korean artist who's going to perform at the World Cup.
This is a very big privilege indeed, Soa. So BTS, none other than BTS, of course, will appear as a co-headliner at the halftime show of the 2026 FIFA World Cup final. Now, Madonna and Shakira will also be a part of the halftime show. This is the first time a halftime show will be held during a FIFA World Cup final as well. The halftime show is expected to raise awareness for the FIFA Global Citizen Education Fund, which aims to expand access to quality education and sports programs for children. BTS has held a long partnership with Global Citizen, having appeared at Global Citizen Live in 2021, while Jungkook, one of the members, took the stage at the Global Citizen Festival all the way back in 2023. BTS, as I have mentioned many times, are currently on their Arirang World Tour with upcoming performances at Stanford Stadium in California on May 16th, 17th, and also 20th, becoming the first Korean artist also to hold a concert at that venue.
Right, and next up, some exciting world tour news again, but this time especially exciting for K-pop Demon Hunters fans.
Yes, we haven't talked about them for a while, but yes, Netflix has announced on Thursday through its official Tadam platform that it is teaming up with live entertainment company AEG Presents to create a worldwide tour based on K-pop Demon Hunters. Now, Netflix described the project as an immersive live event that will transform the universe of K-pop Demon Hunters into a spectacular real-world experience and bringing the magic of Honmun to venues around the world. Now, K-pop Demon Hunters, in K-pop Demon Hunters, the Honmun word, also known as Soul Gate, is a mystical barrier created to protect the human world from demonic forces. The official lineup for performances actually has not been confirmed yet, but fans are especially eager to see whether artists like Ije, Audrey Nuna, and Ray Ami, who were the singing voices for Huntrix, perform alongside with the demon boy group Saja Boys. Now, additional details, including tour dates and host cities, will be scheduled to be revealed later on this year.
Can't wait for that concert, and I imagine it might actually look like inside the movie where they have the concerts.
I'd love to go.
Right?
Yeah.
Okay, now Walter, last but not least, we have one more story, and this is about a boy group that's making milestones in Japan.
Yes, big milestones indeed. So according to the Recording Industry Association of Japan on Friday, Tomorrow by Together, mini album, their 8th mini album, When the Wind Briefly Stopped in the Thorn Bush, exceeded 250,000 cumulative shipments in Japan as of April, securing a platinum certification under the organization's gold disc system. Now, the latest achievement brings the group's total number of gold disc certified releases in Japan to 16. Now, the association grants gold certification for shipments exceeding 100,000 copies, platinum for 250,000 copies, double platinum for 500,000, triple platinum for 750,000. Now, the mini album also maintained strong momentum on Oricon's charts, reaching #1 on the weekly combined album ranking, weekly album ranking, and weekly Western music album ranking. Notably, it became the group's 14th chart topper on the weekly combined album ranking, tying, get this, the all-time record for the most #1 albums among not just domestic Japanese, but also the international artists as well.
What an achievement. And thank you, Walter, as always, for those updates.
No worries.
All right, now we move on to our AI anchor, Arirang, for more on the culture front. Arirang.
Thanks, Swa. Here's your AI guide to the latest cultural headlines from Korea. Let's begin with our top story. Culture Minister Chu Young visited the southeastern city of Miryang on Friday as part of government efforts to revitalize regional tourism. Miryang has been working with the Culture Ministry on various cultural and tourism projects centered on local assets such as Miryang Arirang. Che toured sites tied to the city's Cultural City project, inspected major tourist attractions, and held meetings with officials to hear local tourism concerns. Calling regional tourism a key growth engine for reviving the domestic economy, Che pledged to expand support. Foreign tourist arrivals to South Korea hit a record high in the first quarter this year. According to Travel Research Institute, Yanorja, 4.74 million foreigners visited Korea in the first 3 months, marking the highest quarterly figure on record. That's up more than 22% from a year earlier. Chinese visitors accounted for the largest share at 1.42 million, while foreign tourists spent an average of 1.8 million won, or about $1,230 per person. Notably, arrivals through regional airports jumped 40% from 2019 levels, more than double the growth rate seen in the Greater Seoul area. Chuncheon International Mime Festival, one of South Korea's best-known performing arts festivals, returns to Chuncheon from May 24 to 31st, with a week of immersive street performances and all-night festivities. The celebration opens with a splash-filled street event, Asurajang, turning downtown Chuncheon into a giant water playground. A diverse lineup of stage productions is in store this year, including a joint stage by artists from Greece and Japan, works highlighting the evolution of Korean mime, and a Korea-Finland collaborative production. The festival will reach its peak with a signature overnight program Dokkaebi Nanjang, running from May 30th into the early hours of the next day. More than 90 arts groups from around 10 countries will present performances, installation art, and interactive programs throughout the night. That's all from me. Turning now to a quick look at more K-culture stories making headlines today.
As spring nights settle over Seoul, Gyeongbokgung Palace is once again opening its gates for its limited seasonal evening tours, inviting visitors to experience Korea's royal past in a uniquely serene nighttime setting. Our culture correspondent Jo Young-eun takes us there.
As the sun sets over the city, Gyeongbokgung Palace begins to glow beneath the spring night sky. Passing through Gwanghwamun Gate, the sounds of the city soften into a peaceful landscape where history, nature, and the beauty of Korea's royal architecture come together. Wearing colorful hanbok, visitors wander around the illuminated palace grounds, creating unforgettable memories beneath the gentle lights of the palace.
We were thinking about what to do for our 500th day anniversary. And then we heard that Gyeongbokgung Palace was opening at night, so we decided to come here together. There were so many hanbok rental shops nearby, and my girlfriend likes pink colors, so we chose matching outfits in this style.
My sister made the reservation, so I came here right after work. Since it's spring and the weather is so nice, seeing the lanterns and everything with my child is creating such a wonderful memory.
As the night falls, visitors can see landmarks like Kunjeongjeon Hall and the Gyeonghaedo Pavilion from a new perspective. Along the quiet palace path, the architecture and shimmering reflections across the water create a calm and breathtaking atmosphere. Further inside, visitors can also step into parts of the palace that are usually off limits, like Gyotaejeon Hall, once the queen's living quarters, offering a rare glimpse into royal life during the Joseon dynasty. This is Kunjeongjeon Hall, the grandest and most iconic part of Gyeongbokgung Palace and its main attraction. Seeing the palace lit by beautiful night illuminations in the heart of Seoul, it feels like taking a journey back in time through the 500-year history of Joseon dynasty. The Gyeongbokgung Palace night opening invites visitors to the royal palace after dark through June 14. Only 3,300 guests each evening can step into this nighttime journey with an admission fee of 3,000 won, while children under 6, seniors age 65 and older, and visitors dressed in hanbok can enter free of charge.
It's a cool experience of taking pictures, just wandering around the palace because it's a really nice historical site of South Korea, and we're just having fun.
The nighttime opening will become even richer with performances of traditional court music beginning Friday, including a special performance commemorating the birth of King Sejong the Great. The Korea Heritage Service says it will continue developing programs to help the public better appreciate the historical value and the beauty of the nation's royal palaces. Jo Young-eun, Arirang News.
In Korea, May 15th is celebrated as Teachers' Day, a day dedicated to honoring educators. But have you ever wondered why Koreans celebrated on that exact date? To find the answer, we have to go back 600 years to the story of a king who gave his people a voice. During the Joseon dynasty, reading and writing were privileges of the elite. Complex Chinese characters were mainly used, which were difficult for commoners to learn. Many could not defend themselves in legal matters, share their thoughts, or even put their feelings into words. One king could not ignore this. King Sejong the Great, one of Korea's most revered rulers, set out to create a Korean alphabet so simple that anyone could learn, rich or poor. He was more than a ruler seated on a throne. He was a teacher determined to give his people a voice and open a new world of knowledge to all. After years of relentless effort in the face of fierce opposition from the ruling elite, he created Hangul, a revolutionary writing system so simple and scientific that ordinary people could learn it in just days. He did not use knowledge to strengthen his power. He shared it so his people could rise with him. By giving ordinary people the ability to read, write, and speak for themselves, Sejong the Great changed Korea forever. That is why Koreans celebrate his birthday, May 15th, as Teacher's Day. Because centuries later, King Sejong is remembered not only as a great king, but as the teacher who gave a voice to the entire nation.
So, marking Teacher's Day in Korea, today's K-Culture Issues segment explores the stories of mentors and protégés within the Korean film industry. Across both academic institutions and real-world production sets, Korean cinema has long fostered a culture in which generations of filmmakers and actors continue to influence and inspire one another. And who better to discuss this with us than filmmaker and Seoul Institute of the Arts Professor Jae So, a teacher and mentor himself, of course. Welcome back, Professor So.
Hello, Professor.
Nice to be back.
And happy Teacher's Day. I see you also have a carnation there
Yes.
with you. All right, so before we go into our main topic today, let's talk about a recent event, the Baeksang Arts Awards, which took place last week. So how did you see this event, and also especially how did you see the winners in the film category?
Right. It's the 62nd Arts Award. And basically, you can imagine it to be sort of the Oscars, the Tony, and basically the Emmy. So it goes through film, theater, and television all at once. And the big winner was King's Warden's actor Yoo Hae-jin, who won for Best Actor. But the Best Director category went to director Park Chan-wook. And so there's a movie called No Other Choice that he made. So, and what's interesting about it is there are many different films of different genres that were competing. And in the past, it's been more sort of traditional, like a big budget film that had won. But this year, for the Best Director, Yoon Ga-eun won for the World of Love, which is like an indie film. So what I found kind of interesting about this year's sort of the film part of the awards is that it was very sort of like it had a very spectrum of different kinds of films, sort of more personal films versus films like, The King's Warden, which was kind of a big budget historical drama. So other festivals basically always go after sort of the mainstream, but I think this year, not only for, film, but for theater and television as well, they were also sort of like marking out new filmmakers and sort of, I guess, theater directors that were making their mark for the first time.
Right.
Yeah.
I also quickly want to mention we also had Tanjong, the king, receiving some awards, right?
Right. So this was not the Best Actor award, but Neighbor had Best Newcomer, and it won that award for Park Ji-yoon for King's Warden. And King's Warden actually won this thing called the Gucci Impact Award, which is sort of like a special award that I guess Gucci was sort of sponsoring for. So it got its due. So I think director Cha Han-jun's lucky that he's not only a bestseller director, but he's also now an award-winning director as well.
Right.
Right, now let's move on to our main topic, the kind of student-teacher relationship in cinema, like as an example. Could you introduce some, let's say, mentor and mentee relationships in Korean cinema that have significantly changed or shaped each of the growth?
Sure. There's so many, actually, because the relationship between mentee and mentor in Korean cinema is a very close relationship. One relationship I can sort of talk about is Park Chan-wook's relationship with director Lee Kyung-mi. So they actually met at this film festival called the Milestones Festival, where the directors come in as judges. And she had a short film called The Feel Good Movie. and basically she won the grand prize, and so he was introduced to her, and then she worked for him as an assistant director and scripter for a movie called Sympathy for Lady Vengeance, which is like a really great Park Chan-wook film. And then afterwards she made a movie called Crush and Blush, which was her debut film, which started. So what's interesting about the mentor-mentee situation is that basically a director will take somebody under their wing, really teach them the ropes. But what's interesting about Korean cinema's sort of that relationship is that the mentee doesn't necessarily copy the master, but basically, goes off on her own sort of style. And so, Lee Kyung-mi's another director, I would say, in the vein of Park Chan-wook in the way that she has a distinct style. If you look any of her films, like Truth Beneath, like movies like that, it has a style all on its own. So that's similar in that way. But I think what you learn as a mentee and a mentor system is you learn the professionalism of working basically behind a camera on a professional set. So these are a relationship that's gone on for a very long time in Korean cinema, and it continues till today.
Right, and you earlier mentioned 어쩔 수가 없다 or no other choice, and if I'm correct, I guess director Lee Kyung-mi also helped in that script as well for Park
that's
Chan-wook.
true. So they're collaborators now, which is interesting.
So just like we see in these cases, it looks like on-set experience, culture is very important in Korean cinema. Please tell us why.
Well, the Korean sort of movie, if you go back, to, I would say about 10, 15, to 20 years ago, we had a system in Korean cinema which was the assistant, director, system. So in the West, assistant directors are somebody that's more of a professional level sort of position. But in Korea, the way it worked was, if you wanted to become a director, you worked as an assistant director, and basically I worked in that system too. It works like your first, second, and third, and each has a different thing. I started as a third assistant director, but basically when you become the first assistant director, that's like basically the last step before you become a director. So it takes about 10 years. It's a system that really worked as an apprentice system where you learn the ropes, you learn from sort of the masters, you get to know the crew, things like that. But nowadays, Korean cinema is now sort of more similar to the West in the sense that, a lot of directors like, we're going to talk about Na Hong-jin, but like he just straight out of film school started directing movies. But so now the assistant director position is a professional system. That's not a stepping stone towards becoming a thing. But this kind of like, we talk about mentee, mentor, but the apprentice system worked for almost every division, not just directing, but for cinematography, for art direction, for sound. But now that's kind of changing. The landscape's changing because of, I would say, the biggest thing is streaming. Yeah.
I see. Now, Korea is home to many renowned film and acting schools, and relationships formed between like professors, students, seniors, and juniors, as you definitely would know, Professor, often continue into the professional film industry. Now, how do you think these connections influence Korean cinema, and what might be the advantages or even disadvantages of this?
I have first-hand knowledge of this because when I made my first film, I used students both in front of the camera and behind the camera. So, a school like Seoul Institute of the Arts, like we're basically a filmmaking school. It's not like, learn theory about filmmaking. We do a little bit of theory, but you're actually there making films. But when I debuted my feature, I had people as an assistant director in the camera department. I had professional crew members, but we had students in every part. And I'm really proud that I used some student actors as well. And I think that's the sort of the professional level of a relationship that actually crosses over into professional, I guess the world of filmmaking and the film industry, because, there's an actor named Park Jong-hwan that was played a small part in my movie. My movie's about student filmmaking, and he played a zombie, and basically he's now a professional actor that comes out in movies, and he won like an award for a movie that he did a couple years ago. So these kinds of relationships really work because it's, again, going back to the mentor-mentee system, but we're now in an educational sort of setting where basically a lot of professors do have inroads to industry connections. So even if the director is not a professor, he can actually connect the students to other directors and things like that. I'm always asked by directors, and not just on movies, but on OTT platforms, who the next big actor is going to be. So I'm always kind of looking amongst my students to see what the next big star is, and I have some students now that are really famous actors, which I'm very proud of.
So interesting to hear of those hands-on experience, Professor So. And since you are directly teaching students, do you see these students also kind of follow some creative lineages or some role models?
Well, I think right now, we're going through a change because as Korean cinema is, as you know, the theater system isn't really doing that well. And I think right now, the new wave of sort of filmmakers coming up, I think they're much more keen to sort of mixing genres, creating new things. They're really influenced by TikTok and YouTube, that generation. So I'm hoping that besides the traditional way of sort of looking at the masters in film and sort of following their lineage, I think this new wave of filmmakers are going to really influence the way the cinema is going to look, the type of stories they're going to tell. And I think right now, I'm hoping, even though the theaters aren't doing that well, that this new wave of, sort of filmmakers are going to be much more in touch with the zeitgeist of the mainstream audiences. So we talk about that a lot with my students. It's like, how will you speak to your audience and who your audience is? And I know, I'm a different generation, so, I think they're going to be speaking sort of to the younger crowd and the people sort of their generation. So I think this kind of influence in sort of, I guess, tradition versus what's new is constantly being renewed. Yeah.
I see.
An interesting thing has been happening recently with international students wanting to come to Korea to study film and acting. So what do you believe are the defining strengths of or characteristics of the Korean film education?
Well, Korean cinema, because of, I think it started with K-pop, K-drama, and finally when, Parasite won the Oscar with, Bong Joon-ho's film, it really sort of revitalized the Korean film industry. And right now, even at my department, I have students from Europe, Spain, Vietnam, Japan, China, Russia. And I always ask these students, like, they have to speak Korean, because they're going to a Korean university. But I said, well, why are you here? And they said, well, the best filmmaking is being done in Korea. They really want to be a part of that. And I think what's interesting is they're coming in sort of looking at us as sort of the benchmarking sort of country for that. And it's interesting because I studied filmmaking not in Korea, but in Hollywood, basically in LA. So to me, my style of filmmaking is, I would say, the way I teach it is like, basically Korean cinema plus what's happening around the world. So it's very international. And I think, we've done exchanges with other countries like America, Vietnam. And what's kind of interesting is that, besides the language barrier, what really brings us together is filmmaking itself is a very international language. So it doesn't matter where you're making the film. As long as you have the ability to have a professional crew to do something, if you have something to say, I think now the world cinema is becoming at a certain high level. And Korea is definitely sort of a beacon for that right now.
And speaking of that global interest in Korean films growing, currently we are also seeing a big interest at the Cannes Film Festival, which is underway, especially with director Na Hong-jin's Hope going to be screened there soon. So what are your expectations for this film, and what does this mean for Korea's cinema in the broader sense?
This movie is sort of like an interesting movie between sort of what's happening in Korea politically, because it's set in a town that's near the DMZ, so it's dealing with South and North Korea things, and it's got an international cast. So it has Hwang Jung-min as the main actor with Cho In-sung, but at the same time we have Michael Fassbender, Alicia Vikander, an international cast. So I think what Na Hong-jin's film has been very much, his films have been, I think all 4 of them went to Cannes before. And he's had sort of a darling of the festival. And this time he has had sort of like a big film. It's like 160 minutes, sci-fi set in a small village in Korea. It's garnering a lot of interest, and it's really tight-lipped. Like I think there's like a very short scene on the internet if you want to look at it. So I don't even know what the movie's about specifically, except what's on there. But it looks really exciting because Na Hong-jin's kind of a director that his themes are very dark. The Wailing was the last film he did, and he made a horror film after that. But basically, I'm really looking forward to this film. And then the magic factor is, director Park Chan-wook is the jury president of Cannes. hopefully
Right.
maybe he can influence the results. I don't really know.
He said it doesn't. It won't influence him that
he's
there are
gonna-
Korean
yeah,
movies
we have
there.
to say that. But at the same time, I think Naungjin is a director, that's sort of like is making sort of like a new kind of film. And this movie has, I heard there's creatures in it as well. So really blends something that what he's done traditionally in the genre of like crime, dark thrillers into something that's sci-fi and fantasy. So I'm really looking forward to this film, and I hope it has good results at Cannes.
Let's cross our fingers for that. And Professor So, thank you very much for always educating and informing us on Korean movies and everything. And happy Teachers' Day again.
Happy Teachers Day.
Thank you. Happy Teachers Day.
Thank you. And thank you, Walter, as always. We're going to have you back here next week.
See you next week.
Thanks for watching and for your interest in everything K-Culture. K-Culture Dive will be back on Monday, 2 p.m. Korea time. Keep diving.